Happy Friday and welcome to the Coast to Coast Pick 5 preview show for Saturday, February 3rd. And Gino, we've got a giant day of racing tomorrow, Saturday. Plenty of Derby preps starting off the weekend and big day tomorrow.
Yeah, it's Santa Anita, 4 graded stakes races on the card. We will talk about the Coast to Coast Pick 5 that will combine Santa Anita and Gulfstream Park, and it's an all stakes Coast to Coast Pick 5 this weekend. 2 of those Kentucky Derby preps that you were referencing are in that sequence. Probably the 2 heaviest favorites that we'll see of the 4 of them, with Fierceness and Nisos that we'll end up talking about. And then even at Oaklawn Park, you have 4 stakes races and all stakes Pick 4. They have the Southwest, the Withers, and the Toboggan at Aqueduct. So those 4 tracks have 15 graded stakes on the card, on their different cards. We have the Pick'em contest, the free to enter contest to shoot for. And if we're in Southern California, we know that we're going to maybe put a few extra bucks into the races tomorrow because they've already canceled for Sunday.
Yeah, plenty of rain scheduled for Sunday here, starting much earlier now. Tomorrow, Saturday, the weather will be fine. Partly cloudy skies. We should be at terrific racing all day long as I bring in Seminar Skip, a.k.a. Skip Rains. Skip, do you know of the weather situation anywhere else in the country tomorrow?
I didn't check the weather anywhere else. I was more concerned with it here, but it should be good at Gulfstream. Here's going to be nice, but I tell you what, we're going to get rain Sunday, Monday, maybe all the way till Thursday. So not good. It's going to be real wet, and doesn't surprise me they cancel the races on Sunday.
Yep, cancel races on Sunday, but once again, like we said, tomorrow, Saturday, perfect weather. A little chilly, but nothing wrong with that. And
right.
A great 10 race card. First post, 12:15 tomorrow, 12:15. But today, we're going to concentrate on the Coast to Coast Pick 5, which we keep bringing up, gentlemen. Every week, the payouts have been astronomical, Gino, and it just keeps continuing week by week. The terrific payouts on this play.
This one will push the boundaries, right? I think
Yes.
of all the ones that we've looked at, because this one will have 2 very, very heavy favorites in the sequence that are pretty tough to beat. If you've listened to us handicap and preview a lot of races over the years, that's what we all try to do. I had a really difficult time in those particular races that we'll get to at the end of the sequence. So we'll see if you can beat one of those 2 horses. This thing could pay. You don't need to beat both of them. If just one of Nisos or Fierceness loses in this sequence, this thing will pay very well.
No doubt. And let's get it started. And that would be with Gulfstream Park, race 10. We're going 7 furlongs in the grade 3, the Forward Gal. Skip, what are your thoughts here in the first leg of the Coast to Coast Pick 5?
I'm going to go too deep here. I'm going to use the 2 outside horses. The 6 is Scalable. This horse is Todd Pletcher. This horse ran at started at Saratoga, then it shipped out west to Santa Anita and ran some good races. Ran second into the Chandelier and didn't run too bad in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Fillies. They shipped it back to Gulfstream Park and it won very easily. Won by 6 lengths going away. Horse should be tough, but I like the 7. With Waters and Rand. I like this horse an awful lot. I love the way that she won her last race, the Mazarine grade 3, going a mile and a 16th at Woodbine. I know that was on the Tapeta or the synthetic track, but I don't think this horse will have a problem with the dirt at all. And I like the 7 an awful lot here, but I'm going to go 6-7.
Gino, we have the 6-7 versus Skip, and I got to ask you a question by a horse like Scalable, who, comes back as a 3-year-old. She runs a giant race. Do you attribute that more to just back with her friends, obviously with, coming out of a grade 2 and a grade 1, or with the Lasix first time? And then does that concern you at all? And then back off the Lasix?
Definitely a talking point, especially with the horse that's a short price, right? When they are going to be one of the favorites, if not the favorite in here, I think you have to discuss that. I think that she fits she was fine previously without it. So she ran well in some of those races against graded stakes company, and she was not completely overmatched in that field, in some of those fields. especially in the Breeders' Cup. I'll mention a couple that he doesn't have on. I think the two outside horses are logical. The two Fiona's Magic, I think she's actually the fastest in here. All of the races have been sneaky good, and I like the progression. Now, as we get to 7 furlongs for her, she went from 5 furlongs to 6 to 6.5. She was in the 2-path battling. She put away that pace rival. She drew off. I think she'll be in the mix. I want to use her in the pick 5 for sure. And the other one is Nikitas. You dive into her overall body of work, her 3 races on the dirt are very good. She was behind a horse named Alpine Princess, who's won 3 of the last 4, recently won a stakes race. And that's a nice 3-year-old filly who's sort of towards the top of the 3-year-old filly division right now. Following that, she lost to a horse named Caitlin Her Greatness, who was also in that race with Alpine Princess. And in that September 28th race, this horse got shuffled back badly on the inside, was in traffic. It was a brutal trip. You can see in the comment lines, back-to-back races, had a little bit of trouble. And then Nikitas finally put it all together. So the 2 and the 5 definitely going to be in the mix for me, along with the 6 and the 7. I'll probably use those 4, I think, in here, 2, 5, 6, 7.
And we've mentioned several times over the last few weeks the perils of Chad Brown at this meet, who did finally get off the schneid, who was 0 for a very long time. Now it's just 4 for 45, but maybe things are turning around.
Right?
Yeah.
And that'll be up to 20%.
Yeah, which I don't think we've ever said that. I mean, they all seem to go in some patterns of, get hot and cold. This is the first time, I don't know about you guys, that I can remember in years that Chad Brown had such a dry spell.
Because it's such an operation, right? At all levels and grass, now dirt, and you have just 3 and 4 horses in races sometimes too. It overwhelms you with the numbers that it's hard to get in that bad of a streak. But yeah, this one was pretty eye-opening for a solid period of time.
All right, so we move to the second leg, and that would be the 4th race at Santa Anita. We are going a mile on the turf in the grade 3 megahertz. And if you remember megahertz, boy, could she run. And she was a tiny little thing, but had a turn of foot like no other. And I know one of all 3 of our favorite horses back in the day. And this is an interesting race because the one thing that kind of stands out, you look at a horse like Closing Remarks. Closing Remarks got that big turn of foot. Closing Remarks has gotten very tough. There is not much speed in this race at all.
Have you seen a race where, can you remember seeing a race where there's less early speed? Because there are only 2 horses in this race that in any race in their entire lifetime have been within a length at the first posted positioning. Think about that. Some of these horses have a lot of races, 15, 16, 25 races, and only 2 have ever even been within. And Mafi did that like 2 years ago. That was early on in her career. She hasn't really shown that much speed more recently, but I think that's how I handicap this race. Chappie, I was looking at the horses who, by process of elimination, are just going to be closer early than some of their other rivals. So I mentioned Mafi. At least one time she had speed. We can't even say that for anybody else in here. And once she had that in her arsenal. So but I think even just with the rail draw, she should be able to secure a nice spot there. And her turf form is sneaky good. Her synthetic races aren't bad. Overall, this has been a pretty nice mare. I think she's really an interesting new face to me in a race where we kind of know a lot about most of these. So I had to use her, the 4 Bella Bell, another one with Pratt aboard, even off that long layoff, which is concerning. She'll probably be fresh, and I imagine she has to be sitting in the top 2 or 3 here early on.
Yeah, that was my thought as well. I mean, obviously, those are the only 2 horses that showed any speed. I think Bella Bell, being fresh, Pratt is so knowledgeable and judges pace so well. And the last work on XBTV on January 30th was very nice, which I'm sure Skip watched. Yep. I got a feeling this horse is going to be on the lead, unless the 1 sends. But we know how good of a judge of pace he is, and such little speed, Skip. I'm sure you're thinking along those same lines here.
Yeah, definitely. I thought Muffy How do you say it, Gino?
Yeah, I think I said it 3 different ways when I said it. Like a Moffy to Moofy to So take your pick.
I think that she'll probably be on the lead. Breaking from the inside. Bella Bell, I think, will be close. And look who Bella Bell got. She was so impressive. Her first 2 starts at Santa Anita in the Blue Northern, and then the San Clemente. And then she ran at the Del Mar Oaks, she ran into Spenderella. Spenderella was a very, very nice grand motion horse. And
She's
then
multiple grade 1 place. Those are both grade 1s when she hits the board. She runs well in both of them.
Right. And then Geo Romantica, Chad Brown, that's been one. I don't know if it was a grade 1, but won a couple graded stakes.
Well, that was a grade 1. That Queen Elizabeth right there. That was the one. Yeah, when she was third.
And then closing remarks. I tried to look elsewhere. I thought maybe Nadette, but I just went back and I kept watching that last replay, and I thought maybe it was a prep, but I don't know. This horse doesn't look like it's got the fight to me. It always makes a run, then just kind of flattens out late. I just can't bet that horse. So I'm going to go 1-4-7 with Malfi, Bella Bell, and closing remarks. Closing remarks had a great work on the second, but I don't know. I always try to beat that horse, and maybe she'll just win. I mean, she loves Santa Anita's turf course, but with the pace scenario and everything, I like 1 the best. 4 and 7 would be my second and third picks.
We saw this almost the same, Skippy, because I end up using 1-4. I did throw in Nadette. I kind of talked myself into her because I do think coming out of that last race where they went down the hill sub 44, she could just have a little more tactical speed exiting that race, and she might be able to fall into the spot where maybe she's third or fourth and she gets the jump on a couple of these deeper closers like closing remarks. So I'm actually going to try to beat closing remarks in this race because I know I have some favorites coming up after this. So I'm going to go 1-4-6 in here.
I'm 3 deep, and I'm 4 in order. 4 because I think the 4 is actually going to go 4-7-1. Closing remarks just likes to win now, and they'll probably be bunched up. They're not going to go that fast. We know she can outkick anybody. So at first it looks like, the pace is going to be up against her, but I think she'll be just fine. So an interesting race pace scenario wise in just a 7-horse field. So, all right, let's move on to the third leg. We're back to Gulfstream, the grade 3. If you notice the pattern here of graded stakes races, Gino, the grade 3 Kitten's Joy. What are you looking at here in race 11 at Gulfstream?
Yeah, Takayo wired a field with a couple of rivals on January the 6th. There's not that much early speed in here. He honestly could do that again, but the horse that I like falls under that same handicapping reasoning is the number 6 First World War. Now, he hasn't run a bad race in his career. His first 2 were on the turf. He wins first time out of the box going long. He's actually favored in the Bourbon when he faced Noted, and he drew post 12 that day. He was hooked 4 wide all the way around the track, and he was still trying right there within a half length, about 50 yards from home, and then he got a little bit tired late. He ran such an impressive race that day. And then out of that, they went to the dirt. His 2 races on the dirt were not bad at all. He finished second in the Mucho Macho Man. He was right behind a horse named Otello, who's probably going to be the second choice in the Holy Bull against Fierceness. So I think First World War back to the grass in a race where there's not a lot of speed. He's coming out of some dirt races too, where they went a little quicker to the half mile. I think he's going to be sitting very, very close in here. I like him quite a bit. I'm going to try to get out of this race with Agate Road, World War, and probably Takayo I throw in. I think I'm going to try to beat Noted and think that, Agate Road takes the step forward here, second start back off the bench, and that First World War and Takayo might have a tactical advantage. So I'll probably play this race using the 3, 4, and 6.
So Gino going the route of Dave Weaver when you say take the favorite and chuck them out. Skipper, are you going to use Noted in your sequence here or not?
I'm going all here. This is the race that I think something crazy could happen. I don't really like Noted. I don't like the outside. But the horse is good. It loves the grass. It's got 3 wins from 6 starts. It's 2 wins from 4 starts on the grass. But I tell you what, I really like the way the one won last time. It broke a tad slow at the start. It's a homebred. This horse looked very impressive winning. The time was good, 141-3. Inside post. I like that one. Takayo, probably will be in front again. Maybe First World War will put a little pressure on or be close. But there's a couple bombs that I think are very interesting. Freedom Principle, the 8 horse. This horse has won on 2 of the synthetic track, at Gulfstream Park. But the last one was a stakes race, and it's improved with its buyers every time. Now, these Flame Away horses love the grass. They have a very high win percentage when they move to the turf. So I got to use that one. And then the 7, Quokka. This horse had a brutal trip. Taken up, going into the turn, tight spot on the far turn, checked slightly mid-stretch, dove to the inside, and finished very nicely with a good gallop out. That horse is 30-1. With all that being said, I think this race is wide open. I'm against Noted, and that's going to make me hit the all button here, hoping that I could get maybe the 1, the 5, 7, or 8. But 7 and 8 are must use. 1, 7, 8 are must use on your tickets, I think.
7 is a must use at 30-1, and I think you did pretty well with the Quokka there, Skip. Well done on the pronunciation. I believe that would be how you pronounce that. Gino, is that correct? I was wondering how he was going to get to that.
I think so. That was very well done. Yeah.
Wow. That doesn't happen very often, boys.
All right, we're back to Santa Anita, gentlemen. We've got the Grade 3 Bob Lewis, a mile. We've got 9 horses going forward. The ultra impressive Nisos 4-5 on the morning line. Skip, when I get to you, I want to know your thoughts on this horse and your thoughts on the January 7th workout when Coach Prime and Nisos worked together. And I thought the replay on XBTV was extremely interesting on that workout. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. And it looked like Coach Prime got the best of Nisos. Now, the gallop out was weird because they're going in the far turn. There was a horse. So Nisos, the jock, took it outside of that horse. So that looked a little deceiving. It looked like Coach Prime was kind of drawing away. But I don't think that was the case. Nisos had to go wide, lost a little ground. But I don't know what work back that was. It only shows 5 work backs on the workout pattern here. But I tell you what, the January 15th, the January 20th, and the January 28th, this horse is primed and ready to go, I think. I've always been impressed with this horse. I liked it before it ran first time out. I couldn't believe it went off at 6-1. Baffert had another one in there. I think it was Urban Legend.
Yep.
And didn't run very good. But this horse, I tell you, very, very impressive. That last work on the 28th, it was weird because it was so full of run. The jock just had a hold of it and it wanted to blow by. And then he had such a good hold that it switched back to its left lead. And then all of a sudden he kind of shook the reins to get back on the right lead. And that horse exploded. And that was against Reincarnate. Reincarnate's a real good workhorse. And that horse just blew that horse away.
Annihilated that horse. Yeah.
Right. And it's not like that. That thing that was most impressive it was Reincarnate, that I know was a good workhorse. And just the way that it did it, I think this horse is ready to go. 2 turns is not a problem for me. This is a single. And I don't think the race is going to be close. I love Nisos. It's 4-5, but I'm singling.
I think Nisos is probably the most talented horse on the West Coast. Baffert might have unleashed one last weekend I'm Mayhem, I believe.
Right.
I can't remember who, if you go on XBTV, just worked with Muth.
And somebody told me that horse was a little green and may not have been ready to rock that day too.
Correct.
I got a bad tip on that one.
Well, no, that was if the horse breaks well. The horse is a freak, but the horse had trouble at the gate, and then as soon as the horse broke well, they said the horse was a rocket ship. But that'll be an interesting one.
Right.
I wonder, Gino, if, and I'm guessing they will. It wouldn't shock me, and this is not breaking news, but it wouldn't shock me if Coach Prime ends up not running and moves somewhere else tomorrow. I don't know that, but a lot of times when they get this good, he splits them up. We don't know yet, but there's a big field. We'll see. Is Nysos a single? Let's say they're both in. I don't know that. So is Nysos a single for you?
Yeah, I haven't been quite as impressed with Coach Prime in the afternoons. He's been very good in the morning still. And the 2, 3, 4 finishers of the Los Al Futurity come back. Winstock won that race as the long shot there, got the lead. He's going to run in the Southwest, which is a wide open race. I really don't love that race that much overall. Yeah. So the horses that come out of it are the next logical tier of contenders. I don't really love them. I'm going through the field. Both the 3 and the 4 kind of look similar to me. I wish this race was a little bit longer for both of them. Then I think I would give them a more of a chance at a mile and an eighth, just a little more foundation. The horses that I kind of got myself to maybe using at a big price. If you're someone who's going to play a couple different tickets, maybe you're going to play one where you single Nysos and you use Fierceness and another horse or two, and maybe you play another where you do the opposite, right? Because if you can beat one of these 2 horses, this thing really will pay. Even if you think that they're unbeatable, you may want to play a ticket or 2 that's just a little bit different, even smaller ones, because that's how you hit big days. The 8 and the 9 would be the tickets, the horses who I'm actually most interested in. I thought McVeigh looked like a horse who would be better with distance. He was a little bit green, but he did run in some spots there, and he lost to that horse you just mentioned, Mayhem, and he wheels back real quickly, which is interesting to me because it's not like this is a small field that they needed another horse to fill. So I do find it intriguing that they would wheel this horse back pretty quickly, because that's not necessarily a barn that does things like that either. So I think he's going to run well. I think the 9 was pretty impressive too. He kind of swooped the field, and his running line is a little different than it looks. He was 5th early. He was about 3 lengths off, and he tipped to the outside and went wide all the way around and came up the challenge. They're just not going to really be able to contend with Nysos. He seems like he's just so far ahead of this group. That's what's hard about this race and the next race, is that him and Fierceness against those fields, they just seem like they're so far ahead of each other. If they were against each other, right? Then you'd be able to talk about, which one do we like? But that it's so difficult for me. I think in the next race, I can get to a horse who I like a little better than I do in this race, beating Nysos. I couldn't get past him.
Yeah, I think Nysos is a monster, and we shall see that tomorrow. A couple mentions: when you Better Than Gold looked very good in that replay. Better Than Gold is a big, good looking with big, giant strided horse who could improve down the line, like you said. Scatify is the one I can't figure out, because I was in the contest that day, and Scatify was easily getting outworked by another West Point horse who was or another Sadler horse in that exact race. And I went
9-1 too. He didn't get bet at all.
I went all in on the other one, and then Scatify, who was getting destroyed in the mornings. But sometimes we know horses don't always work well in the mornings, but show up in the afternoons, or vice versa. They could be the morning glories and never. So I don't know what to make of Scatify. We're probably looking too much into this. Nysos probably wins by 5 at 2-5, and we move on. So let's move on to the 12th and final. Gino, we're back to the Holy Bull. Fierceness, who was just so ultra impressive in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, has continued to work like a beast in the mornings against some very good horses. And who's your other one that you're giving some consideration to in here?
The 2, Inveigled. If you look at this horse's pattern all the way through, he's never run a bad race. And as the distances improved, his speed figures actually got a little bit better. He was good. He had a monster win at Laurel in his second start. Then he went into a stakes and he finished second. He was only beaten the neck that day. The Gulfstream race on December 9th was very good because it showed he can sit off the pace a little bit. I think that was really important for him. In his last race on January the 1st, in that Mucho Macho Man, with Otello. He was 4-1 that day. He's sitting a close-up third. He gets caught in between horses. He's in the second flight. So he's just behind the first tier of horses, and then he's just buried. Horses on both sides of him and in front of him. He has absolutely nowhere to go. He has to wait. He backs up and angles around, and Otello waits and then moves in between horses. He wins, and Inveigle finishes fourth, beaten like a length and a quarter. And if they flip trips, he would have won that race. And then the prices are way different. So if you're watching and you're looking at his form and you're seeing him progress, if that Mucho Macho Man's just a little bit better, I think he can continue stepping forward. I can see maybe Fierceness coming off the Breeders' Cup. Maybe this is a race where they try to sit off a little bit more, or they're not quite worried about sending him to the lead, or something happens where, hey, we've got to worry more about the Fountain of Youth and the Florida Derby and the Kentucky Derby. I think a little more than Nysos. As of right now, Nysos isn't even running in the Kentucky Derby, right? So he's going to try, I think, be a little more concerned about winning every single race he's in. Still may not matter here, but I do think with Inveigled and Otello, those two, maybe even domestic product, I'm interested more in this field overall and the strength outside of Fierceness than I was with the race at Santa Anita.
Well, Skipper, like Gino mentioned there, that's the one thing you have to take into consideration. A race like this is Fierceness, as talented as could be and could win by 10. This is not the end goal whatsoever. So this is just the starting point. The whole starting point is to get them at 100% on the first Saturday in May. And sometimes not only are they not cranked, they might try something different, take back, whatever, just to get dirt in the horse's face. You know, this is the time to maybe play around a little bit. And it's amazing to say that when you're running in a $250,000 graded stakes, but is this a single here, Skip, or are you going to spread a little bit and take a shot?
No, I'm going to use two other horses. And Fierceness, maybe, I mean, the way it won the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, I mean, monstrous. Probably the most impressive Breeders' Cup winner throughout the 2 days. But this isn't the end goal, like you said. The end goal is the first Saturday in May. Maybe this, I know it's working good. Maybe it's not cranked. Fierceness doesn't need to win this race. So I think this is a time to try to beat it. Maybe we can't. Maybe he's just that good. He sure ran like it in the Breeders' Cup. But I'm going to use the one. Hades? Gino, is that okay? Hades?
Hades?
Hades.
Yeah.
Okay, Hades. I know it's a Florida bred. I know. Look at the sire only costs $4,000. They paid $130 for this horse. But, I know it started out in a maiden claiming open company, but the race that really impressed me was the last one. This horse broke from the rail. It was going 7 furlongs. It was in a 3-wide duel all the way till turning for home. And Paco Gonzalez looked to its left or looked to its right, and he just took off. This horse took off and won convincingly. I love the inside draw for this horse. And if the other horse, maybe C Street could go to the lead with this horse, but knowing Paco, he's going to stand right out of the gate to get that position. I think that horse is very interesting in here. Maybe it's not good enough, but the way that he won its last race, he obviously loves Gulfstream Park. Both of its wins are there, Florida bred. That horse is going to be on. And then I got to use the 3 Otello. Got in a tight spot on the turn, steadied slightly, swung 3 wide, split horses, and won gamely to get up. This horse did the same thing. The first race he had trouble too. This is a game horse. It reminds me of like maybe a Silver Charm type. It never will win by a lot, but this horse is a fighter. It wants to beat you. So you'll always see winning by a neck, by a nose, whatever. That's kind of what I see with Otello. And listen, I don't mean that it's going to be as good as Silver Charm by any means. He was one of my favorite horses, but he's got that fight in him. And I love that. I love the last work. So I'm going to go 1, Hades, 3, Otello, and then I'm going to put Fierceness in 2. I'm going 3 deep in here. My ticket's going to be $162. And I hope in my all race, I could get a bomb, and I hope I could beat Fierceness in here, and maybe it will pay.
Well, you heard it here first. Skip has claimed Otello is the next Silver Charm, and remember on Hades, that first race, it's one of those hybrid optional claimers that wasn't in for the tag. So
Right.
those are those new ones that kind of getting around some of the more expensive horses that they've done here at Santa Anita, other places. So interesting sequence again. Gino, like you said, this will be the one we'll see. They've all been paying just massive amounts of money. Obviously, if you end up with Nisos and Fierceness, it might not do that. But if you beat one, it could be big balloons once again. So any final thoughts, Gino?
Yeah, it's going to be a really fun Saturday of racing all over the place. Plenty of ways where you can get involved, and a couple different contests on the opposite end of the spectrum. You can take a shot at the NHC Super Qualifier at ExpressBet tomorrow. Try to qualify for that thing. It's a $1,500 entry. So then you can pick if you get in this year or next year's NHC. So if you want to try to enter that, bunch of big contests coming up over the next few weeks that I'll be talking about. Or maybe you want to sit back and try the free contest, the Pick'em contest, pick'em.santanita.com, combination of 12 prop questions involving tomorrow's NBA games. There's a big Lakers-Knicks game tomorrow that's going to be on ABC around 5:30. There's a couple big college basketball games too that are in the mix there, and then races on the Saturday Santa Anita card. So I've got all the tracks covered with the different guests. So if you need any extra help, Oaklawn, Gulfstream, Santa Anita, Aqueduct, we got all the big races previewed for you on That's What G Said podcast.
I love it. Skip, any final words?
I just love this bet. Last Saturday, it was all chalk and it paid $900, $904, I believe. Then Sunday, you caught a couple bombs and it paid $102,000. Now, I don't think it's going to pay $102,000 tomorrow, obviously. But even if you get chalks, I mean, you're going to get paid with the dollar minimum and the 15% takeout. I love this bet. This is my favorite bet, and I can't wait to play it tomorrow.
Well, big races all around the country, obviously with a lot of 3-year-old implications. And of course, a big 10 race card here at Santa Anita and the start of all the Triple Crown proceedings starting tomorrow, gentlemen, around the country. So first post again, 12:15 tomorrow. Weather should be great. Gentlemen, thank you. Good luck, everybody. We'll see you tomorrow at the races.
Good luck.
Good luck, everybody.